It's a big job covering news on a daily basis, whether it's covering events for television, radio, or newspaper. Keeping up with all of it takes a lot of stamina.
It does. In his series, My Ohio, Leon Bibb profiles a well-known journalist who for years worked here at News Channel 5 and who covered every major Northeast Ohio story during the last half-century.
He is retiring. Dick Feagler, columnist, newscast anchorman, commentator, thought-provoker. Feagler has seen it all, or at least most of it, during his 50 years as a Northeast Ohio journalist. Through the toughness of the communities, we look for where we are socially, politically, culturally. Journalists report on us. Cleveland is a gutsy town with an edge. To truthfully and adequately report the news in this city takes guts, too.
I got into this business because I wanted to write, and I wanted to get paid for writing. And the only way you could figure out to do that was to work for something like a newspaper.
He did it for 50 years. Cleveland newspaper reporter, columnist, television and radio host, and anchorman Dick Feagler is retiring. This marked his last show on WVIZ, Cleveland Public Television.
You were the most influential journalist that this town has seen in the last 50 years.
Absolutely.
Without question.
Absolutely. A live audience saw his last Feagler and Friends television show. I was one of 3 journalists with him. As always, he was, well, Feagler.
Endlessly curious individual who asks many, many good questions and then turns to people and say, what do you think?
I always thought he had an honesty and an integrity that he brought to the whole environment.
Fair, homegrown, cared about Cleveland.
Earlier, Feagler talked to me about Cleveland historical moments, including the 1967 election of Carl Stokes as first black to lead a major American city.
I remember that night that everybody ran out in the street, and you would have thought we'd won World War II. Everybody thought, man, I guess a little bit the way some people felt about Obama when he got elected.
Whether it was in the Cleveland press or plain dealer, radio or television, Dick Feagler brought strength. A clip from the past.
The news came like a thunderclap over the weekend. The Browns apparently are going to Baltimore. The city fathers are trying their best to keep that from happening. We have today on the show a variety of people who are going to speak to this issue. The mayor's been nice enough to join us.
So after the years, can this veteran walk away from this profession?
I'll be lucky if I can walk away from this couch after 50 years, you know. But yeah, I wrote a column for a long time, and the thing I always thought I did best, if anything I did, was a column.
His column was read at City Hall, corporate offices, and kitchen tables. News delivered to a city's doorstep. Dick Feagler got into the newspaper business in the early 1960s. That's when newsboys delivered newspapers door to door. I was one of those youngsters who delivered the paper. In those days, Dick Feagler's column was read by just about everybody. Everybody wanted to see about the events which took place. Feagler wrote about them and also wrote about those events which did not take place.
On the front page of the press, they would build all these things, like the bridge across to Canada and the people mover who would take you around the second story of all the stores, and Erie View 2. And none of these, they put pictures of these things in the paper. That never happened. Over the years, Feagler did commentaries on channels 3, 5, and 25, but he stayed close to his columnist jobs at the Cleveland Press, later the Plain Dealer.
When I get up in the morning, I feel so much energy. I feel like it's the first day of school. I'm ready to go. You know,
You still look like a kid.
Yeah, well, you know, you got my vote, Feagler. What are you running for?
He ran for journalism, which honored him with the high marks of Emmys, the Peabody and DuPont Columbia Awards. Feagler could craft a piece of journalism, taking a complicated story and boiling it down to its essence. Mr. and Miss Public could easily understand what Dick Feagler had to write. He was journalism, television, radio, and of course newspaper. It was the newspaper which got him in the business. He was paper and ink. Still, Dick Feagler sees the changes newspapers have taken.
When you consider what it costs you to print a newspaper on newsprint, put it in a machine, roll it up into rolls, throw it in a truck, and drive it to Vermilion, as opposed to just hitting a button.
For 50 years, Dick Feagler, wordsmith, the kid from Cleveland who grew up wanting only to write. Take care, Dick, and thanks for the words, all 50 years of them. Feagler wrote a popular Christmas piece for the Plain Dealer, Christmas at Aunt Ida's was so popular, the newspaper ran it on its front page Christmas Day for 13 years. Feagler's memory of his Aunt Ida was later adapted into a stage production at the Huntington Playhouse in Bay Village. Live on 5 in my Ohio, I'm Leon Bibb.
Nice profile, you know, and had the chance to work alongside him for a few years here, and was always so amazed by his dedication to, I think, the highest ideals of our profession and his sense of humor.